He thought love would save him. It cost him everything instead. His house, his kids, his peace. That's what happens when you believe in the idea of true love more than you understand the system built to profit from it. This is not bitterness. It's clarity. And if you are a man over 40, you need to hear this before you walk into the same trap. Because what destroys men today is not love itself. It's what they believe love will protect them from. I used to believe in love the way people believe in God. Blindly, faithfully, completely. I worked hard, built a home in the suburbs, mowed the lawn every Sunday, saved for college funds, put her name on the deed, because that's what good men do. Right, that's what I was told since I was a kid. Be loyal, provide, protect, and someday, the right woman will see your worth. Everyone around me said the same thing. You're doing it right. Man, you're building a family. You're one of the good ones. They didn't see what I was really building. I was building liability. The paperwork was written in love, but enforced in law. And the law has no heart. I met her at a coffee shop in Dallas. She had that kind of smile that makes you think life finally makes sense. I remember she laughed at all my dry jokes. She said I was different, real, solid. She told me she wanted something that would last forever, and I believed her. Within a year, we were married. We moved into a 2-story house with a porch swing and white curtains. Our friends called us the perfect couple. We posted holiday photos, held hands at dinner, and people said we were proof that good love still exists. But behind the smiles, something small was starting to fade. It wasn't loud. It wasn't obvious. Just quiet. A distance you can't explain. Like a signal losing strength day by day. At first, I thought it was stress. Work, kids, life. It happens to everyone. Right, but I started noticing little things. The way she stopped laughing at my jokes, the way she checked her phone during dinner, the way she said, "I'm tired," a little too often. I tried harder, bought flowers, planned weekend trips, told myself it's just a phase. Love takes work. You fight for it. You hold on. That's what good men do. Then one evening, she said, "I think I need space." I didn't understand. Space from what? From me, from us? She said she wasn't happy, that she didn't know why, that she needed to find herself again. So I gave her space. I gave her everything she asked for. Because that's what love does. Right. It trusts. It forgives. It waits. A month later, a letter came in the mail. It wasn't from her. It was from her lawyer. That's how I found out I was being divorced. No conversation. No warning. Just paperwork. The same system that celebrated our union now billed me to end it. That was the day everything changed. The house we built together was no longer my home. The savings account was no longer ours. Even the dog bowl by the kitchen door was gone. I remember walking through the empty living room, hearing my own footsteps echo in a space that used to be filled with laughter. It felt unreal, like a robbery that happened in slow motion, and I was awake the whole time. I called her once. She didn't answer. I texted her. "Can we at least talk?" She replied an hour later. "I think this is what's best for both of us." For both of us. That line kept repeating in my head, like a broken record. Because deep down I knew it wasn't best for both. It was best for one. The court called it division of assets. I called it losing everything. I started working overtime, not to get ahead, not to save for the future, but to pay for the house I no longer lived in. Every paycheck felt like a receipt for my own mistakes. I wasn't just paying bills. I was paying for my own blindness. I remember sitting alone one night, staring at the divorce papers on the table. The words looked cold. Oficial, permanent. That's when it hit me. Love didn't destroy me. Believing it would protect me did. Because love is emotional, but the system is structural. And when emotion meets structure, structure always wins. They say love is blind. Maybe that's true, but blindness doesn't protect you in a courtroom. And as I signed my name at the bottom of those papers, I realized something no one ever told me. Marriage isn't built for men. It's built on them. After the divorce, I tried to stay calm. I told myself this is just a phase. People move on. Life moves on. But the truth is, life doesn't move on when your entire world was built around someone else. You don't move on. You rebuild. And rebuilding means starting from zero. I still remember the first time I looked at my paycheck after the court order. More than half was gone. Not for taxes, not for savings, but for what the paper called support. Support for the woman who had already started a new life. In the house I paid for, with the car I financed, living a story I was no longer part of. That's when I realized this wasn't about love anymore. It was about leverage. And I was on the losing side of the deal. You see, most men think marriage is a promise. In reality, it's a contract. And like every contract, the side with less risk always wins. When you're in love, you sign your name on that paper, thinking it's a declaration of commitment. But in the eyes of the state, it's a declaration of ownership. Once your name is there, your work, your savings, your time, even your children, become part of a structure that you no longer fully control. The same system that smiles when you say "I do" will turn around and treat you like a financial entity the moment you say "I can't." You stop being a husband. You become a provider. You stop being a father. You become a payment plan. The system doesn't care about love. It cares about compliance. It doesn't care about fairness. It cares about fees. Every hearing, every motion, every document filed is another billable hour. And the machine feeds on broken homes. 2 households, 2 sets of taxes, 2 sets of bills, more transactions, more profit. No one tells men this part, because if they did, fewer would ever walk into the courtroom believing in justice. One night, I talked to a friend named Mark. He had gone through the same thing 2 years earlier. He told me something I'll never forget. He said, "I wasn't paying for her life. I was paying for my own blindness." That line hit me harder than any legal paper ever could, because that's what most men are doing, paying for the illusion they were raised to believe in. The illusion that marriage is safe, that love conquers all, that loyalty guarantees security. It doesn't. Not anymore. When I was younger, my father told me, "Marriage makes a man complete." I believed him. Now I know better. Marriage doesn't complete you. It consumes you if you don't understand the rules. See, love is emotional, but marriage is procedural. One runs on feeling, the other runs on paperwork, and paperwork always wins. The moment you stand before a judge, your vows don't matter. Your devotion doesn't matter. Your effort doesn't matter. What matters is the math. How much you make, how much she needs, how much the system can extract between you both. It's not about justice. It's about distribution. The worst part isn't even the money. It's what happens to your identity. You start to lose the sense of who you are. You start apologizing for things you never did. You start questioning your own worth. I used to think if I just worked harder, if I just gave more, things would balance out. But you can't outwork a system designed to drain you. You can't reason with a machine that profits from your failure. So, you stop trying to fix it. You stop trying to explain, and you start observing. That's when the fog starts to lift. I began noticing something else. Even the men who stayed married weren't necessarily happy. They just endured. They smiled through the silence. They avoided conflict. They stayed for the kids. They stayed for stability. They stayed because the idea of starting over at 50 felt impossible. They weren't living. They were surviving. And survival has become the new version of love. That realization was the hardest part for me, because it made me question everything I once believed. If most men are quietly miserable, what does that say about the system we've built? We tell men to sacrifice, to give, to endure. But we never tell them that every sacrifice has a cost, and sometimes that cost is themselves. There's a moment every man faces after the storm. When the noise fades, the paperwork is done. and the house is gone. You sit there in the quiet and realize the truth you've been avoiding. It's not her fault anymore. It's not even yours. It's the structure you walked into without reading the fine print. Love was the bait. Commitment was the hook. The system was the net. And you were caught in it, believing that because your intentions were good, the outcome would be fair. But fairness has nothing to do with it. I know that sounds harsh, but truth doesn't care about comfort. Truth only cares about clarity. And clarity is what most men never get until it's too late. I remember the day I realized the game had been rigged all along. I was in court for a custody hearing. I had everything prepared: letters, photos, school reports, all proof that I had been a good father. The judge didn't even look at half of it. He just said, visitation every other weekend. Support remains the same. That was it. My kids would see me 4 days a month, and I would still be paying for their full-time life with someone else. That's the moment something inside me changed. Not in anger, in awareness. I realized I had spent years fighting for fairness in a game that was never built for me to win. That's the day I stopped chasing justice and started chasing peace. Because once you see the system for what it is, you stop asking for fairness. You start building freedom. After the court hearing, I sat in my car for almost an hour. No music, no phone, just silence. I remember looking at my reflection in the rearview mirror. The man staring back at me didn't look broken. He just looked empty. For years, I had done everything right. I was loyal, hard-working, patient. And still, I lost everything that mattered. That's when it hit me. Maybe doing everything right was never the point. Maybe the game was never about love. Maybe it was about control. That realization changes you. Not overnight. Not in anger, but in the quiet moments when no one's around to hear it. You start to see the pattern everywhere. You see men in grocery stores with hollow eyes. You see them in office hallways pretending everything's fine. You see them in courtrooms waiting for a verdict that was decided before they even walked in. Good men. Decent men. Men who built everything with love and ended up financing their own disappearance. The truth is, most of them don't hate love. They just don't trust what comes attached to it anymore. That's when I stopped asking why it happened to me and started asking what it was trying to teach me. Because pain without meaning is just punishment. But pain with perspective becomes power. I realized love itself was never the enemy. Naivete was. Ignorance was. The belief that love alone could protect me from a system designed to use my loyalty against me. And once you see that truth, you can't unsee it. One day, a friend asked me, "Do you still believe in love?" I told him. "Yes, but not the kind that requires a contract to prove it. Love, when it's real, doesn't need signatures. It doesn't need validation from a court. It doesn't turn into leverage when things fall apart. Real love grows in freedom, not in fear of losing half your life's work. These days, I live smaller, but I live freer. I wake up early, make my own coffee, read without checking my phone. My mornings are quiet now. No arguments, no tension, just peace. Some people call it loneliness. I call it clarity, because there's a kind of strength that only solitude can teach you. The strength to say no, the strength to walk away, the strength to stop proving your worth to a system that never valued it in the first place. Sometimes, I think about the younger version of myself, the man who believed that love would fix everything. I wish I could tell him the truth sooner. I would tell him, love her deeply, but never blindly. I would tell him, before you promise forever, learn how the system defines forever. And most of all, I would tell him, never give away your peace to prove your loyalty. Because loyalty is noble, but peace is priceless. They say wisdom comes with age, but real wisdom comes with loss. And loss, when accepted, becomes your greatest teacher. I'm not bitter anymore. I'm awake. I don't hate love. I just refuse to worship it. I've learned that you can love someone with all your heart and still lose everything in the process. But you can also love yourself enough to never let that happen again. When I look around today, I see more men waking up. They're not angry. They're aware. They've stopped chasing validation. They've stopped mistaking sacrifice for strength. They've stopped confusing silence with peace. These are not bitter men. They're men who finally understand the rules. They still believe in companionship, in fatherhood, in loyalty, but they refuse to hand their future over to a system that profits when they lose. That's not fear. That's leadership. Leadership isn't about control. It's about clarity. And clarity means knowing the difference between risk and sacrifice. Risk means taking a chance for something greater. Sacrifice means giving away what you'll never get back. Marriage today demands both, but guarantees neither. I'm not here to tell men to avoid love. I'm here to tell them to protect it. Protect it from the system that turns affection into liability. Protect it from the illusion that paperwork equals permanence. Protect it from the lie that devotion guarantees fairness. Because it doesn't. It never did. If you're a man listening to this, you don't have to hate marriage. You just have to stop worshipping it. You don't have to reject love. You just have to understand it. Love is a gift, but like every gift, it comes with responsibility. Not to the state, not to society, but to yourself. So before you promise forever, ask yourself one question: am I ready to love with awareness? Or am I still chasing the fantasy of being saved, because no one's coming to save you? Not the system, not the vows, not even love itself. Only you can do that. And once you learn that, you stop looking for permission to be happy. You stop asking for fairness from people who profit when you fail. You start building a life that can't be taken from you with a signature. That's when peace finally arrives. Not the peace you beg for, the peace you build. And when you get there, you'll look back at everything you lost and realize you didn't lose at all. You just traded illusion for truth. Love isn't the enemy. Blind belief is. And sometimes, the most loving thing a man can do is walk away before the system teaches him what love truly costs. So yes, believe in love, but believe in wisdom more. Because wisdom, unlike love, will never leave you in court.